today we're going to do an event with our wonderful dancers from the 70s, 80s and 90s. So I'd like to introduce Brenda Garratt-Glassman.
Hello, I think I'm the 70s.
I'd like to introduce Ben Love. Well, hello.
Hello, I think I'm from the 90s.
And of course, Shevelle Dynott.
Hello. I think I might be from the noughties. No, 90s. Noughties.
So I'm not going to do a lot of talking today, so let's go over to Brenda. We're going to talk about training. First of all, who inspired you, and tell me about your training as a ballet dancer?
To be honest, I wasn't inspired by any particular person, dancer, although I did have a big crush on Peter Gordino. I don't know if anybody remembers him. I am really dating myself now. I mean, he was a TV dancer, literally from the 70s, 60s, 70s, and yeah, I had a major crush on him. But I started dance because my parents could not get me away from the TV when there was anything on to do with dance. I was here, following the steps. I even loved the black and white minstrel show, so, you know, it was that bad. So basically, my mother said, okay, let's get rid of some of that energy, and she took me to my local dance school, which happened to be the Joyce Butler School of Dance. And Miss Butler was such an influence, always in my corner. And she recognized, you know, the first day I went to ballet class in my sticky outy party dress with lots of petticoats, had to have lots of petticoats, and my white ankle socks and my black plimsolls. And I pointed my foot, and she said, oh, you've danced before. And I'm like, no. So she said to my mum, she's danced before. And my mum said, no. So anyway, I did my skips around the room, and that day she entered me for my primary RAD exam, so I started in the September, and I took my exam in the December, and I got honours. So it was always natural to me, like breathing. If I wasn't dancing, it was like I was half alive. So it just escalated from there, competitions, blah-de-blah-de-blah. And then my formal training came as a result of the then director of the Royal Academy of Dance, Peter Wilson. He came to the summer show, and he gave me the award for the most promising. And then he said to my teacher afterwards, what are you doing with Brenda? And she said, because apparently, unknown to me, a lot of people had been approaching Miss Butler as I got older, thinking, well, she's going to be good in cabaret. And Miss Butler's like, no, she's better than that. I won't have it. So she was looking into Brazilian ballet, Cuban ballet. And so Mr. Wilson said, I will get her an audition to the Royal Ballet School. So I auditioned in a class, and I was accepted, but my main memory in that class was we were doing an enchaînement, and part of the enchaînement was an entrechat. I'd never done one in my life. And I had to put up my hand and say, I don't know what that is. So she showed me, and I did it. And then afterwards in the interview, she said, well, dear, we will train you because you're very talented, but you do realize you will never get into the company because you are colored. So that was, and I'm like, okay, I was 16 years old. So I took it at face value. Yes, I'm going to get trained. I want to do ballet, so let's just go for it. But then they did send me to the place to do contemporary because I got accepted at the Alvin Ailey School of Dance. But they were waiting for accreditation to accept foreign students. So while I was doing that, I went to class, and I was taking class just to keep myself going. And this Canadian couple called David and Anna-Marie Holmes, I took their class, and they said to me afterwards, what are you doing? I said, I'm waiting to go to the Ailey School. And they said, have you heard of the Dance Theatre of Harlem? And I said, no. They said, it's the first all-black classical ballet company. And I said, okay. So I sent pictures over, and then I went over as an illegal alien on my passport, and then I got residency. I got my green card. So basically, that was my soup to nuts training. Or is it nuts to soup? Soup to nuts, I think. So that was me in a nutshell. Okay. So I'm going to...
Thank you very much. Thank you. And then, Mr. Love, let's go.
Where do I start on that? I'm Ben Love, Artistic Director of Ballet Soul. My journey started at 8 years old, moving from Kenya, Nairobi, to England. And my parents moved me into an area called Derbyshire, middle of England, and it was a boys' school, the only black boy in the school. The first thing that they found out I was from Kenya, you can run. So they put me into the running, the marathon. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this running. So, and football, of course. Football was one of the main subject that I got picked up by a scout from Everton Football Club. And they said, listen, said to my mother, listen, this boy's great, he's very talented. Can we take him to Liverpool? And, you know, and Mum goes, oh, okay, all right, okay. So in between the school holidays, I got up to Liverpool, and the Everton youth team trained, and I was going to become a professional footballer. And I met this girl who's a dancer, and she said to me, there's a company coming to Liverpool, Dance Theatre of Harlem, performing. I was like, you want to go and see? I said, yeah, sure. So I sat in the chair, waited for the curtains to open. I sat there. I was 16 by that time, playing football. No ballet, no dance. Apart from in Kenya, we all danced. You know, with food, we danced. And I sat there, the curtain opened, and it was a piece called Troy Games, Robert North. And I sat there and I went, and I think it was like 12, 13 guys on stage. I was like, wow. And what they did, it was like the mix of that passion, the music, and the technique. I was like, yes. This takes me back to Kenya, takes me back to the Maasai. They used to come through, my parents had a farm. They used to come through the farm with the cattle. And I remember my grandfather used to give them the water to feed the cattle. And they used to do a little dance to say thank you. And this image of the Maasai was stuck in my head. These guys, beautifully dressed with the makeup. And I was like, wow, I need to do this. This is what I need to do. So I went backstage, and one of the dancers came out and said, listen, thank you. How do I start? Have you done ballet? I'm like, no. What is ballet? He goes, we'll start with ballet, and then you can go on. Okay, so the football training, I used to go and clean the boots for the footballers, and I thought about the ballet. I had one day off. I went to the Liverpool Town Centre looking for a ballet school. I had some piano. I went in, I looked in, there was little girls doing ballet, and I thought, there's no guys in here. There's no guys. My colour, there's no one in here. And I looked in, and the woman saw me looking in, and she came running, she goes, can I help you? I said, listen, can you teach me ballet? And she looked at me, she went, are you serious? I was like, yeah. So she said, okay, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 7 o'clock, you come and do the ballet class. You can do shorts. So I went to the first ballet class with the little girls, and I stood there at the bar, and I was like, wow. And the little girls, you have to do a demi-plie. I was like, wow. My legs were stiff for the football. I was just like a Frankenstein. I mean, my arms were like this. I thought, God, what is this? So I kept going. And then one day, one of the guys said to me, because we all lived in the same house, said, you kind of disappear 3 nights a week. Where'd you go? So I go to the library to study. I'm like, what are you studying? I'm like, geography, history. Just in case I break my leg in the football, I need plan B, you know? So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm in the ballet class, and I see two heads popping up, looking through the window and laughing and giggling. I'm like, oh, my God, they found out. So the next day I go back to the training ground. I go in the dressing room. With the boys, it's quite loud. It's very quiet. And suddenly I look up, and one of the guys is going. I was like, oh my God, they found out. Straight away went to the coach. The coach called me in the office and said, Mr. Love, I heard you've been doing some belly dancing. And I'm like, no, it's ballet, not belly. It's like, wow, yeah, whatever. And he's like, so why? I'm like, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's challenging. He said, so you're going to football or ballet? I'm like, I think I'm going to do the ballet. It's like, okay. So I auditioned in London. I got to a couple of schools in London, Rambert. I actually got into the Royal Ballet School. I said no. I went to Arts Education School first. No, Rambert first, and then Arts Education School. And then I thought, right, 2 years at Arts Education School. And I was there with 4 black dancers, amazing, like Noel Wallace, Sebastian Cole, Evan Grant. There's 4 of us in that school at that time. I think it was the first time they've ever had black dancers, Arts Education School at that time. So we stuck together, and we like spend hours in the studio after training, prep, feet under the piano, going back to get the arch, like in pain, walk home, can't walk, wake up in the morning, do the same thing. So we get that line, watching the great Russian male dancers, make sure the techniques, slow the video down. How did they do that? How did they do it? How did they get that turn in the air? How did they get that jump? We study the Russians, the male dancers. That's what I wanted to do. So I got a ticket and went to New York. And I said, I need that Russian technique. So I studied in New York for a while, came back, and I got into Portuguese National Ballet, quarter ballet, worked up. And I thought, right, okay, the next thing. So I went to a few companies, London City Ballet, Northern Ballet Theatre, got to Norway, Norwegian National Ballet. And I came back to London, and I was like, okay, what's happening in London? Nothing. And I was missing that soul. I did the classics, I did all those companies. I was thinking, this is something with soul, something with African and ballet. So I set up Ballet Soul. So that was my journey.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Okay, Shevelle.
Hey, my name is Shevelle Dynott. I'm a freelance artist. How did I start? Well, I started with the Chance to Dance Project, and it was a program to get children from predominantly, I don't know what to use, ethnically diverse backgrounds. And I was from Brixton. So back then, not now, but back then, Brixton was very ethnically diverse. And the Chance to Dance Project came round and was offering 2 years free dance training. So I was in primary school in my vest and Janssen's, and this wonderful lady to my left was on the panel. And that's how it all started. I was there, they put you in these, they told, I think they had like, what's that, not sellotape. It had, masking tape in first position. I think you had to put your feet on there and you had to plie, and these people are looking at you like, a little bit like this panel. And for some strange reason, they saw something in me. And it all started from there, from Brixton. I did it once a week in a class with predominantly black children, which was absolutely amazing. I felt like at home. I think I did it for about 2 years, and I got a letter from the Chance to Dance, head of Chance to Dance, I think it was Darryl Jeffrey at the time, saying, would you like to audition for, the junior associates? It's the Royal Ballet Outreach Programme, but, you only do ballet once a week, and some of the people that go there do it like every day, so, just, do it. So I went along, and this, again, wonderful lady sitting on my left was the teacher. And I remember walking in and feeling so comfortable because the lady that was taking the audition was my teacher who takes class with me, so I felt as comfortable as ever. Was very, very blessed and lucky to have got a place at White Lodge. Thousands of boys auditioned that year and 16 got in, and I was one of those 16. It was a very good year as well, I'll put that in too. I was there for 8 years. I did the whole shebang. and loved it. And then in 2005, auditioned for this place and came to English National Ballet and danced here for 15 years. And then, decided to have a bird's eye view of what is actually going on with dancers of colour in ballet. And that's where I am now.
Thank you, Shevelle. Okay, would you like to talk about your highlights in working in ballet? Maybe you want to take that.
Highlights.
Yeah.
Well, one of the major highlights was getting into Dance Theatre of Harlem. As Ben said, I mean, I don't think you could be actually not nice looking to get into that company. I mean, it sounds really big-headed, but everybody in that company were really nice looking. And the men, no matter what their sexual orientation was, they danced like men. They were gorgeous, and, a lot of the female dancers also were models. I wasn't one because, I wasn't fat, but I wasn't skinny, because I had shapely legs and stuff, but I wasn't bone thin like New York City Ballet, bone thin. I was healthy. So aesthetically, even though, I did reach being a soloist, it wasn't my be-all and end-all because, honestly, my first love was tap, and I was convinced I was going to dance with Fred Astaire. No, seriously. He was on my radar. From the age of 8, I was going to dance. I said, Mummy, when I grow up, I'm going to dance with Fred Astaire. This is my mum. Okay, darling. Typical Caribbean supportive matriarch. No matter what, okay, darling, that's nice. And so, so Dance Theatre of Harlem. And then basically why I left is because my bunions started to dissolve. So dancing on point was like dancing on hot knives. It was so painful. So I had to leave because I just couldn't dance on point. Then I got into Broadway. So I did a couple of Broadway shows, which was great. And then came back to London after I got married. I married a lovely man who was with American Ballet Theatre. Also a protege of George Balanchine, Jerry Robbins, Agnes DeMille, and that's the only reason I married him. Love you. And so then when I got back here, I did West End shows. So basically, ballet was no longer for me, even though I was teaching ballet. And luckily, biggest thing on this boy, his eyes. Little skinny boy with his big brown eyes. We fell in love with him right away. So yes, the only ballet I was doing is when I was teaching. Yeah. But basically I was now in the West End and doing TV and stuff, but always dancing, but not ballet. I did presentation and, Sky TV presenter on the Home Shopping Channel and, good money, but not very, what's the word? Rewarding. Mm-hmm. Not really for me, but, if somebody asked me to be in front of a camera, I'm like, yeah, why not? Absolutely. So, yeah, different things here and there. Nothing that actually is like, wow, this is, amazing. But I just was so blessed all the time because I got a lot of work through reputation and people working with me and, and even the one job I really, really wanted that I didn't, segued into Chance to Dance because it was one or the other. So because I didn't get that job, I did Chance to Dance.
I'm so glad that happened.
Things happen for a reason. Yeah. So again, blessed, truly blessed.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So, Ben, would you like
Yes.
to tell me the highlights of your ballet career?
Oh,
dancing?
I think my highlights was when I finally got that contract with the Portuguese National Ballet. And I signed it, and I was like, wow. I'm at the Opera House in Lisbon. And I was like, every day I walked in that place, I was like, I'm blessed, thank you. That was it.
Okay.
I knew that I had to work and pay back,
Okay.
especially my mum. It was like ballet. She was like, "Oh, you do ballet?" She was like, "Ballet." Every day she would say, "Why are you doing ballet?" Typical African. But like, "Have some food." Food. Have some food. And my mum was very, very supporting, and yeah. And I think the first contract and the first doors opening, the first company, I was like, wow, thank you. It was in the Court of Ballet, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
I remember the director saying to me, Ben, listen, you're in the Court of Ballet. Stop acting like you're a soloist. I'm like, why? He said, you're doing extra. Don't do extra. Don't be like, don't smile. Don't, like, it's the audience. Just be in the Court of Ballet. Just, I was like, yeah, but that's funny. But, I kind of tamed it down a little bit. So I just stick to the routine of being in the Court of Ballet and doing, being the team worker. Yeah. And then I got kind of a solo, then got some soloist stuff, and I was like, wow, okay, that's it. Part of me, I did Nutcracker, I did the Chinese dance, and we had these baggy pants. I'll never forget this at the Opera House, and I did a pirouette. I got my foot stuck in the baggy pants, and I could see the net on top of where the orchestra. And I thought, no. And I could feel myself going into the orchestra. And I remember the orchestra, the guy was playing, he was like, and he just froze, seeing me kind of like, and I just caught my hands on the stage just before the net and got up so quick. I mean, it seemed like it was like there for like 2 hours. And I just carried on. I thought, wow, okay. I need to, that was one of my worst experiences, I think. My first solo, the director said to me, okay, I'm going to give you a little solo. Okay, do this. And I remember he came back and he said, you saved yourself. And that was it. So, yeah, I think that was my highlight.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank
Yeah.
you. So, Shevelle, your highlights.
My highlights, I'm going to have to say a couple. I will say joining English National Ballet. I thought it was my duty to dance in this country. I feel we were, as a Black British dancer, we were definitely underrepresented then. So to get a job in the national company over here, I was very thankful for that. And I think the second one would have to be when I performed The Moor in Petrushka here, whilst in the company. I wasn't meant to, well, I don't know. I don't think I was meant to do the show, but people got injured and another person got injured, one person didn't want to do it, and it was me. And I really, really, really wanted to tackle this ballet. I really like Stravinsky. I mean, even though it's really hard to count, it was really challenging, and also it was playing a caricature of a black person. And I was really, 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 really happy when I got to do it, because also I think it was a celebration of Rudolf Nureyev Gala or something here. And I got to do opening night, and I remember I did like this. I did a little thing. Like I remember the charlatan does something to each doll, and I just remember I put this thing in where when the charlatan hit me, I'd carry on moving as a doll would do, and someone wrote that in a write-up, and I was so happy that someone saw it, because I never got told to do it, but I did it, and someone noticed it, and for me that made my day. So those are the two major highlights, I would
Excellent.
say, in my career. So dancing in this country as a black male dancer, and actually someone seeing something that I put in, which I don't think Fokine did. And yeah, I was really happy about that.
Okay. Can I-
Just going on that, just to say great thanks to two directors that really helped me. Howard King from London City Ballet. That I think, he was another person that, took me in his arms, and also Christopher Gable from Northern Ballet Theatre. Another thank you to him, because he was another guy that guided me when I was at Northern Ballet Theatre through, the stages of doing parts. He was very into acting characters and, ballets and everything. Those two people that are obviously no longer with us, that they were a great asset to my career going up, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. I just, with all your highs, there's going to be lows. And I'd like to to ask you about your low points. Be interested to find out what your low points, if you'd like to share that with the audience.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
A low point that was really significant for me because of the repercussion, which I'll go into later. When I was at the Royal Ballet School, there's always an annual summer performance. And the 2 years I was there, it was female garde. And the cast list went up. And my name was fourth understudy to a peasant. And I saw this and I cried. And I cried and I cried. And that was really the first time that I realized that the color of my skin could be a barrier to my wishes, my dreams. Because growing up, I never came across that. Maybe I was lucky, apart from people calling me nasty names in school, which my brother dealt with. Yeah. So one thing with COVID is that I'm now in touch on Zoom with about 8 of my Royal Ballet friends who are all over the world, who are in my class. And one of our first conversations was, we were talking about, the school performance. And one of the girls who, when she left the Royal, she went to Beja. She was a principal with Beja, beautiful American dancer, American girl. And she says, "Oh my God, do you remember?" We were talking about Miss Fuster, who was the then principal of the school. And she said, "Oh my God, I absolutely hated her. And she hated me, especially when I went to her and I told her that if you didn't go on in female garde, we weren't going to go on." So this group of friends, unknown to me, went to the principal, said to them, "She's the best dancer in the year. If she doesn't go on, we don't go on." And I went on. So I found that out 50 years later.
Thank you for sharing that. Ben?
What was the question?
Low point in your ballet
Oh, low
dance
point.
career, if you can think of.
Low point. Not getting the company when I was in the UK. When I left, I had to leave the country. There was no opportunities as a dancer. That's the low point.
Okay.
I mean, had to be. I mean, I think it was a journey that I needed to take. So yeah, I mean, I can blame, there's not enough black dancers in companies, but at that time it was just, talk about 94, 95, nothing. So I left. I had to leave. You have to leave. You have to go somewhere else. So that's my low point,
Okay. Thank you.
basically. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Shevelle?
A low point. Oh,
Yeah.
here we go. It's a low point in my career. I think it was we were rehearsing the classical version of Giselle, and I was probably in the company probably about 5 or 6 years, and I had a haircut pretty much like what I've got now. And the director at the time came up to me and was like, why don't you do your hair a little bit more like this other black guy in the company who had like grown his hair, chemically straightened it, done all these sort of things. And I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. And he was like, oh, I've just given the sex of the director. The director said, well, what do you think the dancers would have been like at the time? So I was like, oh, are we going to go there? And I do have, I can be a little bit cheeky at times. And I remember walking to the back cloth that Peter Farmer painted, and it's got fields. And I went, well, probably I would have been somewhere around here. And I think that was the last time I ever got told about my hair. Because I had to go there. I was like, you can't tell me to do something like that. Like, come on. And I went there, and that, again, was the last time I was ever told about my hair. So, yeah, that was a low point. But I had to spin it into a little bit of fun to get a little bit of a laugh later on. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. So now I'd like to just ask you, what do you think about the future of black dancers in British ballet? And it's a big, loaded question. Oh. Brief, please. Just.
I think it's headed in the right direction. I think it's 4 steps forward. No, 1 step forward, 2 or 3 steps back. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's a lot of work still left to do. And thank you so much, Sandie, and all you other amazing people out there that are trying to do the right thing. I have to say this, I feel very strongly that George Floyd did not die in vain, because his death has really highlighted the dreadful way that black people have been treated throughout the centuries. And if something good had to come out of something so tragic, I think stuff that's happening around the world, all the high street stores, for the first time, are celebrating Black History Month. Even Marks and Spencer. Do you know what I mean? They're all celebrating Black History Month. So, yeah, I think there's a long road ahead. But, you know, there are people like you and your gang
Thank you.
around to help.
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
I'm a bit,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Ben?
Good question. What I tried and did I think it was a year ago, just before the lockdown actually, I spent 11 weeks going to all the schools in South London, to all the boys' schools, and going in there and obviously, you know, Peckham, Brixton, and talking about dance. I didn't go with the ballet mentality. I went in there as a teacher, and I'd say, right, and they look at you, and first thing, they don't want you to say ballet, because you've only got 4 seconds of their attention. As soon as you say the word ballet, you can guarantee you 10 round and they've all gone. So how do I get the attention of these boys that become the future dancers for companies in the UK? Is to mention that dance is your journey. Ballet will come to you, like it did with me. in a strange way of looking at it. Enjoy the dance first and the music, and let ballet come to you. Once you get the flavour of a little ballet, and I did put a little ballet in there without them knowing. And they're like, oh, you know, I had a little, you know, double tour in there, like, oh, I like this. I said, you know, this is like, you know, this is what ballet is about. And they're like, oh, give them that kind of, especially boys, they like to be action. It's like, you know, they want to be athletes. They want to do things that makes them jump, turn, do, you know. I said, listen, you know, if you mix this in there, do a turn, that is a pirouette, that's ballet. Oh, all right, great, that's fantastic, yeah, I like this. So it kind of like gives them the taste of ballet, and I think that's the way to go, to get them to understand not to push ballet in their face. I think you need to kind of balance, and I think the future is that companies like, you know, Ballet Soul, there's also Ballet Black, and all, companies that allow dancers of colour to enjoy different rhythms. I think it's very important that they connect to their roots. And Ballet Soul, with this African element that I always try and push, is that connection. I think it's very important. But, you know, I always say to dancers also, your ballet is very important to keep you grounded, you know, to keep you on the stage, the work ethic, the technique, just to give you a longevity in dance itself, that you must have your little warm-up, must do the bar. You know, it doesn't matter, I'm not saying you're going to be like, you know, Nureyev, or just to make sure that your mind, everything is ready for the audience, because the audience is the most important thing out of all this. You know, they can pay money, they come and see you, they want to see performance. And I think whatever colour you are, you still have to perform. At the end of the day, you know, we still have to give platforms and opportunities to give, like, you know, major parts that tells a story. I think that's very important. And with Ballet Soul, I always try, our new production of Othello, try and give the characters that we have acting role. They make sure that when they dance, they're acting. It gives them that extra feeling that, okay, I'm not just like physically giving my all. I'm also acting. I'm also giving the audience something to think about when they leave the theatre. That, oh wow, okay, I didn't know. Yeah, wow. You know, with Othello, I went all the way back to Africa. I went all the way back. I took the handkerchief being white, and made it into blood red, presenting Africa and saying, like, okay, Othello was an African man. I need to go back and then bring it forward again. Mm-hmm. Same with Iago. Him looking back, all the Iagos from the past, from the 16th century, all the way up to 21st century. What does Iago look like back in the 16th century? What does he look like now, being a black man?
Yeah.
What's he presenting in the world now as media and social media in dance? So, yeah, I can go on, but that's the bottom. You know, that's. I think that's very important that we have pieces and choreography for dancers of colour, that, you know, they can present themselves up on that platform.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Shevelle.
What do I think? Oh. It has definitely come a long way. When I joined the Royal Ballet School, there weren't many of me. I believe that there is, especially back then, there was, every like 10 years, you can sort of introduce a black dancer into the organisation like the Royal Ballet School, and the whole world thinks it's something new. When I first got into White Lodge, I thought I was the first black kid to go there. It's only when I went there and had like the archive pictures of everyone, I was like, oh, there's one dude there. Oh, there's a black girl there. I thought I was the first one. My parents thought I was the first one. My family thought I was the first one. And now when I look at what's happening, I mean, I haven't finished my career yet. I still want to dance for a few more years. I look behind me and There's not that many. We're still getting dancers in from America. We're still getting dancers from Brazil. We're still getting dancers from Cuba. Now, I love watching those dancers for sure. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would watch VHS of Carlos Acosta and Sarabia and big dancers that I used to look up to just because I was like, they look like me, but I had to do that. And that for me is still a problem over here because there's not that many. And let's be honest about the situation. And I think it's definitely moving in the right direction. I was watching World Ballet Day, and to look at the Royal Ballet and see Joseph Sissons, which has got absolutely amazing legs and feet, which is aesthetically beautiful for this profession. And actually, he used to work with us when he was a kid, and I couldn't believe it. When I saw him, I was like, "You were that kid?" He was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "No way! I didn't even notice this, and I see those things." Francesca Hayward doing you know. For me, that's good. Once they get into positions of power, hopefully they will be the ones to do something. Because Arthur Mitchell was the one to do something in America, and that was because George Balanchine gave him that status to make him feel that he can do it, and he brought absolutely everyone along with him. And that's why you have American dance. I've got a good friend, Brooklyn Mack. I remember when he saw me on the cover of Dance Europe with the Royal Ballet School, and he was like, "Yo, dude, they've got black dudes at the Royal Ballet School." He didn't even know. And for me, that felt sad, that hurt me a little bit, because I was like, he's been surrounded by young black dancers. We all know in this profession that there is a healthy competition. And if your healthy competition does not look like you, how on earth can you even think that you can do something? I was at the Royal Ballet School. I bowed down to the Anthony Dowells, the David Walls, everyone else who went there. I looked at them and was like, great, but I had to see those pictures every day for 5 years, not even thinking, can I do that? Or even thinking, I couldn't even put myself there. And that needs to change. I've already spoken to the Royal Ballet School and the Royal Ballet Company, saying that needs to change, because you've got dancers now that show off the most amazing aesthetics, that you can show the next generation you can do this, and they can believe in themselves. And that's what still needs to be done. But it will happen at some point. It will happen. It has to happen, because I wouldn't have gone through all of this.
So thank you very much for that, for the contribution. I'd just like to say that each one of these dancers are still practicing in dance. Would you like to share what you do now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't dance anymore except in the kitchen. But I am now a senior assessor and examiner for various performing arts institutions. So for Trinity College London, I'm a senior assessor for dance, drama and musical theatre. For CDMT, I'm an assessor for dance, drama and musical theatre. And for City University, I'm an examiner, external examiner for their Cert HE and their BA Honours Musical Theatre. So that's just being part of the world that I love, and hopefully imparting some kind of wisdom from my experience. And I absolutely love it. And again, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed that I actually like going to work. It's a joy.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And then?
At the moment, obviously, I run a company called Ballet Soul, and I'm the choreographer. And I think my objective is that we've already done an African ballet that was on Sadler's Wells back in 2005. And we had like a 2-year program at the Opera House, commissioned by the Opera House. And I think now the journey now doing our new Shakespeare's Othello is that I've always choreographed when I was in companies You know, when I'm not doing anything, I always grab dancers in the studio. I was like, listen, let's do something. You know, instead of sitting down and just watching, let's choreograph something in the next studio. So I've always kind of like had that aim of, you know, that choreograph and building my repertoire up, and that is African-based still. I'm very like strong-minded on that. And yeah, so at the moment, obviously, I'm also looking for the next dancers that I can push into the roles that I think they need. They need to have that platform. They need to have that platform and say, right, this is what I can do, and this is what I'm saying about black dance. I think it's very important. I think you made a good point about black British dancers. That is a must. Must produce black dancers from the UK. It's okay bringing in Americans, and it's great, the great dancers, but it's got to come from grassroots. It's got to come from grassroots. It has to. So that's my objective. That's my next step.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing. And Shevelle?
What am I doing? I'm doing a little bit of everything, actually. I mean, I feel like one of the biggest hustlers at the moment because I'm like doing absolutely everything that I can put my hands on. So one of my main things is giving back. So I am affiliated with Ballet Futures here. I'm also working with the Chance to Dance Project, which gives me so much joy to know that I've gone back to somewhere that, yeah, I came from. Just to see those little red T-shirts and black shorts, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wore them. What else have I done? I did a bit of dance on Bridgerton. The summer went off and they needed someone, so I was like, well, that's cool. I'll do a bit of that. And at the moment, I am back dancing, which has actually been really, really nice. I'm working with Andrew McNichol. He's got a little collection. He's a young choreographer. And I'm working on that at the moment, which has been very nice, but also very scary, because I'm like, whoa, I haven't done anything for about 18 months. But I'm very blessed with the vehicle that I was given, because it's actually been all right to keep on going. And yeah, keeping things open. As I said, I haven't stopped dancing. I feel like I have still got something to give. But yeah, I will be doing a lot of the outreach stuff to see what's going on, because yeah, things do need to move on a little bit, and it doesn't need to be a tick of a box for any company to have anything to do with young children of colour, ethnicity getting into ballet. And if I see any of the companies not doing what they said that they were going to do, as I am affiliated with it, I will make sure that they keep with their plan. And that's my plan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing.